And this story is developing here at the noon hour. The Supreme Court has ruled that Idaho must allow emergency abortions when a pregnant patient's health is indeed at serious risk. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court reinstated a lower court's ruling. Now, this is the first time that the justices have considered state restrictions on abortions since overturning the federal right to abortion 2 years ago. Since then, Idaho passed several laws that ban abortion at all stages of pregnancy, with very limited exceptions. So while the justices ruled to allow emergency abortion access, they did not address the main issue of the case. Natalie Brand reports on the decision and what's next.
The Supreme Court has ruled Idaho ER doctors can perform abortions when needed in medical emergencies. The case focused on a clash between Idaho's near-total ban and federal law, which requires hospitals that accept Medicare to provide stabilizing treatment, including abortion care, to a mother whose health is at serious risk. During arguments in April, female justices pressed the state on medical emergencies like sepsis and hemorrhaging.
Within these rare cases, there's a significant number where the woman is, her life is not imperiled, but she's going to lose her reproductive organs. She's going to lose the ability to have children in the future, unless an abortion takes place.
How can you impose restrictions on what Idaho can criminalize simply because hospitals in Idaho have chosen to participate in Medicare?
The High Court's ruling could have implications on more than a dozen states that have adopted near-total bans on abortion.
Some doctors will see this as a point of relief.
Dr. Michelle Goodwin is a professor of constitutional law and global health policy at Georgetown Law.
It also is a very strong signal to lawmakers and also those who are not lawmakers but are working in administrative government that they should stand down.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson issued a separate opinion, writing, "Today's decision is not a victory for pregnant patients in Idaho. It is delay." The court did not address the underlying question of whether the federal law trumps Idaho's law in certain circumstances, and the case could return to the High Court down the road. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
All right, President Biden released a statement following the ruling. He said in part, quote, "No woman should be denied care, made to wait until she's near death or forced to flee her home state just to receive the health care she needs. This should never happen in America." Now at noon, we are getting some new reaction from people close to the case in Idaho. KREM 2's Channing Curtis joins us with what they had to say on all this. Channing.
Yeah, that's right, Laura. So I spoke with several pro-choice advocates who say that today's Supreme Court ruling is a victory, but a small one. The Idaho State Director for Planned Parenthood Alliance Advocates told me that since Idaho enacted their abortion ban, it's left many patients in dire need of reproductive health care services that they aren't able to get in the state.
To date, we've seen an increase sixfold of people being needed to be life flighted out of the state for emergency care that they couldn't access in their own home state, which is really appalling. And I think today, the court had an opportunity to definitively state that everyone deserves access to emergency health care. And they passed on that opportunity. And that should be, that should ring alarm bells for all of us.
Now, she also told me that while advocates are celebrating this small victory, that they will still continue to push forward with fighting for more access to abortions and reproductive care. Now, I also spoke with a senior legal counsel at the Lawyering Project. They filed an amicus brief in this Supreme Court case and have been following the proceedings very closely. Just an hour ago, they explained to me how this decision will actually impact pregnant people in the Gem State.
The Supreme Court's case didn't really decide anything substantively. It just said this case is going back up to the district court. We shouldn't have taken it up. We did that prematurely, and they're going to let the lower courts figure out, decide the merits, and then it'll likely come back to them later.
Now, another thing that they did mention is that the ruling does now allow for life-saving and emergency care abortions. So it's a bit broader than just saving someone's life. They can also be used to stabilize a person without risking their life immediately. Now, both experts that I spoke with said that with today's ruling, they would not be surprised if the Supreme Court ends up having to weigh in on similar cases down the road. In studio, Channing Curtis, KREM 2 News.
Jenny, thank you. And we also heard from Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador. He said in part, quote, "I remain committed to protect unborn life and ensure women in Idaho receive necessary medical care. And I will continue my outreach to doctors and hospitals across Idaho to ensure that they understand what our law requires." And we continue to hear from more Northwest leaders on the Supreme Court ruling. You can certainly read their comments on our website. All the stories are posted there on KREM.com.